We were like in awe of it. We were silent. We just stood there. Nobody said a word through the whole national anthem.
Number 10, Los Suns. In April 2010, the state of Arizona passed a new law aimed at cracking down on immigration.
Governor Jan Brewer of Arizona says the new law will protect Americans from what she called crime related to illegal immigration. But Mexican Americans and civil rights groups say the law is racist.
Several members of the NBA's Phoenix Suns organization, including then-owner Robert Sarver, were not in favor of the law.
I think that this is a bill that really damages our civil liberties. I think that it opens up, the potential for racial profiling and racism. I think that it's a bad precedent to set for our young people. I think it represents our state poorly in the eyes of the nation and the world. I think we have a lot of great attributes here, and I think that it's, something that we could do without.
To express their discontent and protest, the team wore their alternate Los Suns jerseys. Worn during games commemorating Hispanic and Latino cultures, players sported the jerseys on May 5, 2010 on Cinco de Mayo, during a playoff game against the San Antonio Spurs.
Now, whether the Suns or Los Suns have it, Phoenix won the game and took a 2-0 lead against the Spurs in their best-of-7 series.
The move was applauded by many, including former NBA Commissioner David Stern. Number 9, Carlos Delgado refuses to stand for God Bless America. During the 2004 MLB season, Puerto Rican first baseman Carlos Delgado heavily opposed the wars which were taking place in Iraq and Afghanistan. To protest this during games, he took it upon himself to not stand or be anywhere on the field whenever the song God Bless America was being played. Interestingly, although there were a few who criticized his move, Delgado was for the vast majority not condemned for his actions, and nor was he fined. Number 8, AFL All-Star Game. In 1965, New Orleans, Louisiana was set to host the AFL All-Star Game. However, things went awry before the game could even be played. Prior to even setting foot on the field, African-American players set to participate reported being harshly mistreated whilst in the city. And that's putting it lightly. It got so bad that players protested and refused to play in the game. The commissioner of the AFL, Joe Foss, sided with the players, and the game was then relocated to the city of Houston.
It's been moved to Houston, and New Orleans is left with an empty stadium, and worse, a big black eye all over America.
Number 7, Bill Russell and Celtics boycott a game in Kentucky. In 1961, the Boston Celtics were set to play an exhibition game in the city of Lexington, Kentucky. Prior to the match, 2 African-American members of the team were refused service at a local restaurant. This was brought to the attention of the team's superstar, Bill Russell, who in response led a boycott.
And he says, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm going to go home."
The team's African-American players subsequently refused to play in the scheduled game. A number of members of the opposing club, St. Louis Hawks, also indicated that they wouldn't participate and join the boycott.
While the black players returned to Boston, their white teammates remained behind and played against the Hawks.
Much like Muhammad Ali, Russell had just as much, if not more, of an impact outside of his sport, especially when it came to civil rights.
Being a high-profile athlete, there was a forum there for me if I choose to use it. And I choose to use it.
Number 6, Syracuse players sit out season. In 1970, several black players on Syracuse's football team could no longer tolerate the overly discriminatory treatment they were receiving. The extremely unfair rules imposed on them were so cruel to the point where they were prohibited from traveling with the team on the road on several occasions.
So we were on an island where we stood and felt we stood alone. So we had to stand back to back to make sure we had cover.
In addition to being angry at the lack of diversity in their coaching staff, they soon took matters into their own hands. What started out initially as a boycott of practice by these players soon after escalated to the entire season, when their demands weren't being met.
In late August, when the group continued their boycott, the program suspended them and failed to meet most of their requests for change. Some in the media called the group black militants.
However, the bold move paid off as an investigation into Syracuse's athletic department unveiled the rampant corruption they were exposed to.
There was a line in the commission's report that, of course, I'll never forget. It says that institutional racism existed at Syracuse, both on the football team and at the university. And it was something that was unbecoming of the university, and the university needed to make a change.
The Syracuse 8 had paved the way for change.
The university has since pushed more efforts into ensuring this behavior is no longer present and that African-American athletes are treated more fairly. Number 5, Billie Jean King demands better pay. In the early days of professional tennis, it was no secret that men were compensated significantly more prize money in comparison to women while competing in tournaments. In response, Billie Jean King decided to fight this.
It was King and the so-called Original Nine who laid the foundation 3 years earlier, at a time when some men earned as much as 8 times as the women. This groundbreaking group signed $1 contracts each to take part in the first women-only tournament.
In addition to forming the Women's Tennis Association in 1973, she also threatened to boycott that year's edition of the U.S. Open.
And thanks to Billy Talbot and many people who believed in women's tennis, went ahead and did it, so we're very happy.
Soon after, her demands were met, and ever since then, the U.S. Open has annually awarded equal prize money to players from both the ATP and WTA.
All thanks to King's determination and her threat of a potential boycott.
Several other tournaments over the years have since followed suit.
Everyone thinks women should be thrilled when we get crumbs, okay? And I want women to have the cake, the icing, and the cherry on top.
Number 4, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf's national anthem stance. In 1996, NBA player Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf sparked outrage when he refused to stand for the national anthem, believing it to symbolize both tyranny and oppression across the United States.
They started talking to me, trying to convince me. I said, listen, man, I'm not going to stand. I said, so you do what you got to do, and I'll do what I have to do.
He was subsequently suspended by the NBA for his actions.
Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf had the courage to withstand someone taking their livelihood away from them. And that's a whole different level of activism. That's a whole different stratosphere.
After his suspension, both Abdul-Rauf and the NBA worked on a compromise where he would stand for the national anthem prior to games under the condition that he may be able to pray while doing so. Despite his return, his playing time decreased. To make matters worse, he continued to be mocked and criticized by media outlets and fans alike.
I wasn't surprised that was the reaction. Why? Because history has shown, in particular when young or African-American athletes, entertainers, whoever, step outside of the athletic box and speak on something else, you're condemned.
Soon after, he was traded and upon his contract expiring, played in Europe before attempting a brief comeback with the Vancouver Grizzlies. Many, including Abdul-Rauf himself, believe his actions spelled the end to his once promising career.
Maybe Mahmoud is sort of a warning. Maybe all these athletes come, I'm not going to do that. Look what happened to this guy. All I know, there's a bunch of athletes out there who make a lot of money who, aren't saying a peep about anything.
Number 3, Colin Kaepernick and the NFL kneeling protests. Leading up to and during the 2016 NFL regular season, then San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick was unhappy with the treatment of African Americans in the United States, as well as the country's current social and political climate.
So I'm in a position where I can do that, and I'm going to do that for people that can't.
To express his outrage, the quarterback proceeded to kneel during the singing of the national anthem prior to games. Kaepernick's actions sparked outrage and many divided opinions.
That's a total disrespect of everything that we stand for.
The controversy snowballed after the regular season when Kaepernick became a free agent. Since then, and as of the time of writing, Kaepernick has yet to be signed by an NFL team.
Come in, let me compete. You can evaluate me from there. The NFL is supposed to be a meritocracy. Come in, let me compete. If I'm not good enough, get rid of me. But let me come in and show you.
Despite holding several workouts and even filing a lawsuit against the NFL, which went on to be settled, Kaepernick still hopes to play for an NFL team.
My agent, Jeff Nally, is ready to talk to any team. I'll interview with any team at any time. I've been ready, I'm staying ready, and I'll continue to be ready.
Number 2, Muhammad Ali's opposition to the Vietnam War. Muhammad Ali is considered a trailblazer in sports for several reasons: his skill, demeanor, trash talk, and his political activism. Already a notable figure and force in the world of boxing, Ali's reputation would only grow beyond the ring upon being inducted into the U.S. Army to participate in the Vietnam War.
If you're drafted, will you fight for your country?
I don't have to say nothing about that. They haven't drafted me yet, and it's a touchy thing, touchy question, and I'd rather not say nothing.
Against the very nature of war and partaking in violence of any sort, Ali refused.
Ali put it in racial and religious terms that made him a hero to millions of people who thought that it was a bad war.
When he basically said, I ain't going, a lot of us were kind of like, yeah, baby, I ain't going either. I'm just trying to figure out another way of doing it so that I don't have to go to jail in the process.
The punishment was swift, and this included being stripped of his heavyweight title, a $10,000 fine, and a 3-year ban from boxing. Ali is frequently credited for paving the way for other athletes to speak more freely and openly support causes they believe in.
He was fluid enough to accept the projections of every group's need without contradicting anyone.
Ali had defied the patriotic precepts of the country by saying, I'm not going to participate in the war.
Number 1, 1968 Summer Olympics Black Power Salute.
What I did is held my hand up in a cry for freedom.
There's been several notable instances when athletes have used the Olympics as a platform to make political statements and support causes. But there's perhaps no instance more memorable than the one which took place during the 1968 Summer Olympics. After participating in the 200-meter race and receiving their medals, African-American athletes Tommie Smith and John Carlos went to the podium.
The men wore black socks with no shoes and shared a pair of gloves. Smith wore the right, Carlos the left. For Smith, it was more symbolic of the suffering of blacks in America.
As they stood and their country's national anthem was played, both men lifted their fists to show solidarity towards oppressed African Americans and protest racial discrimination.
They were ordered out of the Olympic Village and were suspended by the U.S. Olympic Committee. Smith would be the last U.S. sprinter to climb the winner's podium for 16 years.
While the response was divisive, with some going so far as to condemn both men for their actions, many have since applauded them for their courage, and the image of what transpired remains one of the most iconic in all of sports. What athlete protest do you think was most successful? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
We must have a government and a country phone, and this is the real solution.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.